Daniel loved old New England. He loved the history, the architecture, and the stories whispered on the wind. He spent his summer break exploring sleepy towns, his notebook filling with local legends and forgotten lore. Each weathered gravestone held a story. Each crooked lane whispered of the past. Daniel was drawn to the forgotten corners, the places time had left behind. He found beauty in decay, a melancholy charm in the remnants of a bygone era. But there were places even the bravest souls avoided, places shrouded in whispers and shadowed by fear. One name, uttered in hushed tones, sent shivers down his spine. Innsmouth. He first heard the name in a dusty antique shop. When he inquired about the town, the shopkeeper's face went pale. He refused to speak of it, his eyes darting nervously around the room. Daniel pressed on, his curiosity piqued. He soon learned that Innsmouth was a place best left undisturbed. Everywhere Daniel went, the mere mention of Innsmouth elicited fear and suspicion. Fishermen in seaside taverns fell silent, their faces hardening. Old women clutched their rosaries, muttering prayers under their breath. Innsmouth, they said, was a cursed place. A town in league with something ancient and evil. The rumors were vague, often contradictory, but they all hinted at a terrible secret. There were whispers of strange rituals, of people disappearing without a trace. The townsfolk were said to be different, their features twisted into something unsettling and inhuman. Some whispered of a pact made with creatures from the deep, a bargain struck for wealth and power. Despite his growing unease, Daniel couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. There was fear in the air, yes, but also a strange reluctance to speak. It was as if the locals knew more than they were letting on, as if they were bound by some unspoken agreement to keep silent. Daniel, ever the scholar, was determined to uncover the truth. The only way to reach Innsmouth was by a rickety bus driven by a man named Joe Sargent. Joe was a gruff, taciturn man, his face etched with the hardships of life on the edge of nowhere. He agreed to take Daniel to Innsmouth, but not without a warning. "Don't say I didn't warn you, son," he growled, his voice thick with apprehension. "That town ain't right. Best to stay away." Innsmouth was a town frozen in time, its once grand buildings now crumbling into the sea. The air hung heavy with the stench of salt and decay. The streets were eerily deserted save for a few figures lurking in the shadows. Their faces, as the rumors had suggested, were unsettlingly fish-like, with bulging eyes and wide, lipless mouths. A cold dread crept into Daniel's heart as he walked the deserted streets. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the cries of gulls and the distant crashing of waves. He felt a presence here, something ancient and malevolent, watching him from the shadows. He knew then that the rumors were true. Innsmouth was a place of secrets, and he had stumbled onto something dark and terrible. Daniel found himself drawn to a dilapidated tavern called the Golden Carp. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of stale beer and brine. A lone figure sat hunched over a mug in the corner. He was an old man, his face a roadmap of wrinkles and scars. He introduced himself as Zadok Allen, the town drunk. Zadok was a wealth of information, eager to share his tales with anyone who would listen. He spoke of Captain Obed Marsh, a wealthy sea captain who had made a deal with a race of creatures called the Deep Ones. These creatures, he said, lived in a city beneath the waves, possessing vast riches and arcane knowledge. In exchange for gold and a promise of immortality, Captain Marsh had pledged his loyalty to the Deep Ones. He had allowed them to mate with the people of Innsmouth, tainting their bloodline and twisting their forms. Over generations, the people of Innsmouth had become more fish than human, their souls forfeit to the creatures of the deep. As night fell, a cold terror gripped Daniel. He knew he had to leave Innsmouth to escape the watchful eyes and the growing sense of dread. But as he turned to leave the tavern, he felt a presence behind him. Looking back, he saw a group of figures standing in the doorway, their eyes glowing with an unnatural light. He fled into the night, his heart pounding in his chest. The streets twisted and turned, a labyrinth designed to confuse and disorient. The figures were close behind, their footsteps echoing on the cobblestones. He could hear their guttural voices, chanting in a language older than time. Daniel knew he was in grave danger. The people of Innsmouth were no longer human, their minds and bodies warped by their allegiance to the Deep Ones. They were hunting him now, driven by an ancient hunger that could never be satisfied. Desperate, Daniel ducked into a narrow alleyway. The stench of rotting fish and seaweed was overpowering. He stumbled over something slick and slimy, his stomach churning with disgust. Ahead, he saw a glimmer of light. It was a sewer grate, partially ajar. With a surge of adrenaline, he pried it open and slipped inside. The sewer was dark and fetid, but it offered a slim hope of escape. He could hear the creatures above, their movements becoming more frantic as they searched for him. He pressed on, his clothes soaked in filth, his lungs burning with the effort. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Daniel emerged from the sewer on the outskirts of town. He collapsed on the muddy bank, his body racked with sobs. He had escaped with his life, but he knew he would never be the same. He had looked into the abyss, and the abyss had looked back. Exhausted and terrified, Daniel made his way to the nearest town. He contacted the authorities, recounting his horrifying tale. At first, they were skeptical, dismissing his story as the ramblings of a madman. But there was something in his eyes, a haunted look that spoke of unspeakable horrors. The government launched a raid on Innsmouth, descending upon the town with guns blazing. What they found there was beyond their worst nightmares. The townsfolk, their faces twisted into grotesque mockeries of humanity, fought back with a ferocity born of desperation. In the end, the town was purged, its secrets buried beneath the waves. Daniel tried to put the horrors of Innsmouth behind him, but the memories haunted his dreams. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong, that he had been marked by his experience. His reflection in the mirror seemed different somehow, his features subtly shifting, his eyes taking on a strange, watery cast. One day, while researching his family history, Daniel stumbled upon a startling discovery. Among his ancestors, listed in faded ink on a crumbling family tree, was the name Obed Marsh. The truth hit him like a physical blow. He was a descendant of the very man who had made the pact with the Deep Ones, his bloodline tainted by the curse of Innsmouth. The transformation was slow at first, almost imperceptible. His skin took on a greenish tinge, his hands and feet becoming webbed. He was plagued by strange dreams, visions of a city beneath the waves, of creatures with cold, dead eyes and voices that whispered his name. Daniel was horrified. He had always prided himself on his intellect, his ability to rationalize the world around him, but now, faced with the undeniable truth of his own transformation, he felt his sanity slipping away. He was becoming one of them, a creature of the deep, his humanity slowly being eroded by the curse that flowed through his veins. As the transformation progressed, Daniel felt an undeniable pull towards the sea. He would find himself drawn to the docks, staring out at the waves, listening to the whispers that seemed to emanate from the depths. He knew that his destiny lay beneath the waves in the city of his ancestors. One night, as the full moon cast an eerie glow on the water, Daniel walked into the sea. He didn't fight it, didn't resist the call of the deep. He embraced the darkness, the cold embrace of the water, the promise of immortality among the creatures of the abyss. The curse of Innsmouth had claimed him, just as it had claimed generations before him. And as he sank beneath the waves, a single thought echoed through his mind. The Deep Ones had been waiting.